So this is the Google Pixel 10 Pro XL in the Moonstone color option, and today I'm going to give you a full review, a real user review of this phone that I purchased with my own money, and let you know how it's been and if it's really going to be the phone for you. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and welcome to my Google Pixel 10 Pro XL real user review. The first thing I want to talk about to get things kicked off is the price. Now this phone right here is going to run you anywhere between $11.99 and up for the Pixel 10 Pro XL, and if you're not in the US, it could be probably more than that. So you are going to pay a pretty penny for this one. One of the reasons why the price is increased is because they dropped the 128 gigabytes. And some people will say, well, that's not really a price increase. They just dropped one. Well, technically speaking, but also at the same time, you don't have the option. So you're paying more no matter how you slice it. This phone costs more than ever. That's something I'm not a major fan of, but considering I have 256 gigs, it does make a bit of sense there. However, I still think compared to the competition, because the Tensor G5 is not as fast as competitors, I wish this phone was $100 less than it is. It just would be a much better recommendation at that price point, because when you can buy the S25 Ultra on these discounts and deals at cheaper price sometimes, or if not the same, and that phone is winning in a lot of areas, this is a hard one to push, if that makes sense. Let's go on and talk about the design and looks. Now, Google has retained the majority of its design elements from the Google Pixel 9 Pro XL here. And I think that's a good thing, because the camera bar, while it is bigger, it's still that trademark Pixel camera bar. And I do love the look of this. I actually think this phone, in a lot of ways, looks better than the iPhone 16 Pro Max. It looks more modern, sleek, and just has this very futuristic kind of look with this camera bar. I just love this design. They nailed it here. Also, I do think shinier edges do give a phone a bit of a more premium look. Kind of reminds me of the older 13 Pro Max, 14 Pro Max days on the iPhone series. So I do really like this. It does feel premium. Also, for those of you who like thin and light phones, this phone kind of retains that heftier and like a little bit thicker feel of the past. So if you don't like these new direction phone companies are going with thin and light phones, this one is going to be good for you. If you like that hefty, shiny, premium brick phone in your pocket, you're going to love this one, because it definitely has that. Although I will state one element that you should think about, which is really actually a good one about the Pixel 10 Pro XL, is that it does have a 6.8 inch, but the aspect ratio is not as wide as some other phones. So even at 6.8 inches from side to side, it feels rather easy to hold. Makes this a bit of a nicer, smoother feeling large phone, even if heftier. So think of it like not super hard to hold, very, very comfortable, grippy edges, thick boy, hefty, but kind of comfortable. It's like a hefty, kind of comfortable feel to it. That's how I could describe it. It has a premium feel as well. So I do think it feels its price tag. That is for certain. Also, because it is a glass back, you will want to protect that. In addition, aluminum edges, shiny, could potentially scratch rather easily if you hit this on the wrong surface. So if you want your Pixel to look beautiful long term, you better get a case on this baby. Also at the bottom right here, the USB-C, because it is shiny, if you stick a cable in there multiple times rough, you might actually chip that area up a little bit over time. But overall, I gotta say, design, looks, durability, you can hear it in my voice. I'm pretty excited about this one. And the Moonstone color looks really good. So I definitely am a fan of just the overall look of this phone. It's one of the best looking phones, I think, of this year for sure. Google has nailed the design on this one. All right, so let's talk about the display a bit here. We're talking about an LTPO OLED display. This is of the 120 hertz variety, so that's quite nice. If we scroll down here, you'll see you can change the resolution to max resolution, which will put it at 1334 or 44 by 2992. So that's going to give you a higher resolution there. You do have smooth display options. If you go over here, you have different color contrast options, adaptive and natural, which one will give you a more saturated look. The other will give you a more toned down colors look, or a natural look, if you will. You do have a screensaver option. You can click right here and you can customize that clock, use Google Photos, a Pilot Bold clock. You can customize the clock as well to see how that looks. So, at the end of the day, this phone is definitely packing quite a nice panel. It is 6.8 inches and it is Corning Gorilla Glass Victus 2, but it's 486 pixels per inch. So one of the things you will notice is that it's a very tack sharp display. As we go ahead and read some technology news right here, how about we read a bit about the iPhone 17 Pro Max? You'll see just the text right here is just very, very sharp. Zooming in, not zooming in, very, very tack sharp. Also, this phone does do the thing that really irritates me that the iPhone doesn't do, and that allows you to rotate the home screen. But you will want to go here to home settings and put landscape mode to go ahead and get some more landscape action in there. So definitely a nice touch there on the display for sure. Now, if I go ahead and turn that off, come back to portrait here. You can also take this display and take advantage of this display by doing a split screen here. So what I love about the Pixel is that it has the options that irritate me about the iPhone while still retaining a pretty simplistic, minimal, and clean experience. It's one of the best things about this phone is the software. It is a major draw. So that is something. So for watching video, this is going to be an excellent display. It does have a punch hole, which is a bit thicker than the ones you'll find on Samsung. But generally, this phone has a great display for viewing media. So that's going to be no issues right there. You can also do that pop view YouTube video down there, which will be fun. But it is not the most thin bezels. I do notice that they're not big at all. They're still thin. With the case, they'll be barely noticeable. But when we are talking about this versus the iPhone has thinner bezels than this. And I think the Edge, the Samsung Edge, and the S25 Plus also have thinner bezels than this. So this phone, because it's using last year's design, for some reason it's not letting me swipe that bottom gesture, didn't work right there. But the phone itself doesn't have the most newest display. They're kind of using the display from last year from the Pixel 9 Pro XL, but it's still a really good one. So let's move on to software. Probably the main draw of this phone. Well, you have Android 16 on board, cleans up a few things. You got more of expressive UI on here. If we go into settings here and we scroll down, you can see they do have the Magic Q right now. And so when you go here, you'll get helpful insights and stuff of that sort. So if you want to use this stuff, you can go ahead and use it. I'm not diving too deep into this right now because I haven't decided if I want to give all this data up at this time. But if you do want to use it, this is going to be a lot of helpful info and actions for you right from the phone. This phone also does have, tons of options when it comes to wallpapers. So if you go over here to wallpapers, they have a lot of AI wallpapers right here, but also they have a lot of nice ones that are just built into the phone. So I tend to love the Google Pixels when it comes to the wallpaper selection. It's probably the best on Android phones. So if you like changing up your wallpapers without downloading an app that has 1,000 ads in it, this is going to be one of your favorite phones out there. Different lock screen options, clock options are abundant here, so you can have plenty of fun no matter what you're doing on this either. That's going to be a great experience. And if we go back into the settings and we scroll down over here to system, and we scroll to gestures here, you can see you have a lot of features for gestures as well, including flip to shush, one-handed mode. And these aren't new features. A lot of these are on the older Pixels as well, but I'm just showing you some stuff you have. You also have a daily hub, which is pretty cool. And I think where this phone really tends to shine is mostly in kind of like how it's like really smart, but also simple and clean experience. It just has this overall kind of trying to get out of your way, but also giving you smart, tailored features to make your everyday life experience with the phone better. So one of the things I really have to say is that software is a very, very strong point about the Pixel. If you're into this, I think if you're into more of a everything in the kitchen sink feature type phone, you might prefer a Samsung Galaxy phone or another Android phone. But if you like a clean, minimal experience with smart enhancements, mostly through AI, you'll love this. Of course, circle the searches here, like on all Android phones, the Gemini integration into the phone is the best on the Pixel. That's going to be for certain. And one thing I don't like, though, is I have to swipe all the way over here to clear all. You can screenshot and circle things and get some information that way as well. but they also integrate the AI into the camera massively, especially in the zoom. So the AI zoom on here is just insane. I've tested it already. It just basically analyzes the images and gives you some of the best images out there. Also, if your image is not framed correctly and you move and tilt certain ways, you can get some AI coaching to get the best images possible with Gemini. So the entire software all comes together to feel very, very cohesive, very all well put together, and everything just feels like very in sync here with the Google experience. So the Pixel 10 Pro XL to me is a major win if you love Google applications and you want everything to stay clean. If you love that, basically I would say the closest thing to this is probably like to me like an iPhone on Android. It's that good. So definitely software is a major point, and if that's something you care about a lot, I think this is a phone you should strongly consider. If we talk about storage, I think having 256 gig was the right move though. Good levels on all the storage options you go, because it goes 256 gig, 512, 1 terabyte. But all of the options include a base 16 gigs of RAM, which was actually put there for AI features. So those features operate beautifully across your experience. The last thing is that it does have 7 years of software updates. So that's going to help you in the long term as well. Generally, the Pixel phones tend to, get these updates faster than most other Android phones out there. So it tends to feel like you're more supported on Pixel phones than any other product in the Android space. The Samsung phones are doing really good here as well, but because they have so many different countries are sending out updates and things of that sort, it can feel a little bit fragmented. Like somebody else is posting a video, but you're still waiting. Whereas with Google Pixel and iOS, these products seem to get these updates all pretty much at the same time. I really like that about this phone. So this doesn't have the best battery life on any phone, but it does have really good battery life, and it also does monitor your usage. It will tell you your battery capacity and health. It'll give you some articles right here. But Google is stating on their website that you could get potentially up to 24 hours of battery life depending on how you use your phone. Of course, you could definitely get very, very long performance here, 24 hours potentially, and you could charge this one pretty fast, up to 70% in about 30 minutes or so. So that's pretty darn good here, I would say overall. You also have the Pixel Snap feature, which I'm not going to showcase here, but it does have magnets in here. You could do the Pixel Snap wireless charging, which is essentially like MagSafe for this Pixel phone. However, I have to say that I have been having some charging issues with Pixel 10 Pro XL, where I would be charging it and it just stops charging for a minute. I got to take the cable out, flip it around, it starts charging again. I have been having a few of those issues. I wonder if that's software related and it can be fixed in a future update, but that was rather annoying in my experience with this phone so far. But having a large and very good long lasting capacity battery has made this phone feel like a very good option to use. You always want a phone that really lasts and goes the distance, and this is one of the best I've tried this year. So I think you're going to be pretty happy with that. One thing I'm not a fan of is if you look around, there's no SIM card. This is eSIM only in the United States. So this is a USA thing. If you do have the Pixel 10 Pro XL in another country, you potentially already have a SIM card on there. But this one is eSIM only. And I am not a fan of this, especially as a tech reviewer who needs to switch the phones out to review these products. But I'm a small majority of people. The mass majority of buyers are not going to care because they don't switch their phones out regularly. So it's not going to be an issue for like 90% of people. But those of us out there who do like to switch out our phones, you know who you are. This phone is going to present that eSIM nonsense that we've all been talking about not loving for years. It just feels like you're taking away something of a freedom on the phone. And that's something I really don't like, especially as an Android user. I don't like that. Android OS has always been about the freedoms of what you can do on the phone. And it seems like some of those things are starting to go away, and it starts here with the Google Pixel 10 Pro series, which I am not a fan of. However, I do understand too the perspective that this is the way the industry's going, Nick. Nobody wants to carry around SIM cards. It's safer to have an eSIM to shut it down if phone gets stolen. It's harder to, hack and all this business. I get it. That's where we're going. But when other Android phones, almost everyone launched this year, doesn't have that, force that on you. I don't like that they're doing this here. So I don't think they're going to go back to having a SIM card tray, but it really does irk me, and it makes me want to potentially go back to my Pixel 9 Pro XL because it's mostly the same phone with a SIM card slot as well. However, I will give them one credit. It's actually pretty easy to transfer eSIM from the Pixel to a Pixel or a Pixel to another, OnePlus phone or a phone that uses that Google system to transfer. When you do go to transfer to a Samsung phone, like if you like to switch between Samsung and Pixel, that's going to present you a problem, or Pixel to iPhone, potentially a problem. But any of the Google phones, Android phones that use the same system of eSIM transfer as the Pixel should be no problem. And let's go ahead and talk about the number one thing that always stands out on Pixel phones, and that is the camera. So the cameras, you have 1x, 2x, you have 5 times, and then you have 10 times zoom, which I'm going to have to move back to improve that focus, which I'm not going to do because I'm too close to this box right here. But 100 times zoom, and the images have been turning out super amazing over here. Now, if you go over here in the photo settings, you have the night sight option, panoramic, you have portrait mode, the add me feature, long exposure, and action modes. Now, if we go over here back to photo, we click video, there's also AI zooming there, and this phone does now support 8K video. So that's really nice to have on a Pixel phone. And then if we go over here to camera and we click settings here, you'll have a different exposure settings, shutter speed, ISO. However, I don't see a dedicated pro video option like we find on Samsung phones right here, unless it's this one right here. Let's go over there. So you can do video settings. You can go to more, change the stabilization. I mean, this camera to me is very well versed. It's very well packed with all the features you need. But what always stands out to me with the Google Pixel 10 Pro series is how when you take a photo, you don't have to do anything, and it kind of processes to make you look like you're a professional. That's the best thing about the Pixel. I just love it, bro. Like it's the best camera phone out there for those of you who want to snap, let the phone do its magic and be on your way, and you'll have photos that look like, seriously, like you're a professional photographer. As long as you don't shake the phone like hardcore and you just steady it, get it in shape, take that photo lined up, it's going to look amazing on this phone. Let me show you some of my results I got so far. All right, so I'm zoomed in onto the phone right here. I'm going to show you some of the results I got from this phone. So you can see we're a little bit far back, but as we zoom in, if you take a look at the buildings, the textures on the buildings are very, very easily legible. I do like this. I am seeing the phone err more on the natural side of things, which a lot of people will like, but if you want a more vibrant photo, you'll have to change some of the settings. But out of the box, it's pretty natural. As we zoomed in here, you can see very good detail picked up, and you'll see right here, I got a little bit more brightness going. But generally, the photos, especially on the zoom with the AI processing, they get all the details in here. It's very, very smart stuff. So I think if you want a very high-end image out of your phone, you're going to absolutely love this product right here. Let me zoom in over here. You can see I got this bird, and it did a really good job at kind of getting the details on the feathers, the eyeballs. And if I go over here, this is some wood chips. You can see the textures in the wood chips are very, very legible. And it's not that other phones can't pick up these photos, but the way Google processes these and gets that detail in there, it seriously looks like you shot this on a DSLR with a really good lens. So as I zoom in here, I just wanted to show you that it can capture these textures very well with the processing. Let's go over here. And one of the most impressive ones, that was a squirrel. Let's go ahead and look at one of the most impressive ones I was able to get. I was nowhere near this bee. So this bee was a good 10 feet away. I'm not getting close to him while he's doing his pollen action. But if we go over here, look at the detail on this guy. You would think I was macro right up on him. No, I was zooming in with that AI zoom. And look at the detail. This is when I was really sold on this camera. When I seen what it did, because when I first took the photo, that's a selfie photo. When I first took the photo of the bee, it was like blurry, but as it was processing and it pulled this image out, I was like, yep, I'm a professional right here. I'm a professional photographer with this phone. So it can do that for you. And I thought this texture on this building was a nice shot to get. You can see all of the crevices and cracks in the building and the brick action right there. I mean, this phone is superb in the camera. And not only on top of that, they threw in a 42 megapixel front facing camera. So if I go ahead and show you that, that has gotten extremely sharp. So I always talked about how we need to improve front facing cameras, and look at this. I'm gonna go ahead and take that photo. Look at, I'm using the G9. Look at the detail. I could see every single marking on there. G9 Mark II. That's the camera I'm using for this video. You can see I have Amazon Basics XLR port right there. Look at the detail. This is the front facing, and we're indoors. Imagine outdoors. So they nailed it with the front camera as well. Just phenomenal camera setup. Video is also pretty strong in here as well with 8K options. Now this phone does support up to Wi-Fi 7, and the Wi-Fi performance on here has been pretty darn good. Also the 5G has been pretty good on this phone as well. Although I have found the signal strength to not be giving me any real issues. So this is a solid phone in this department, and it does have Bluetooth 6.0. So it does have most of the things you would need for very fast connections. I think overall, from a phone standpoint, from the connectivity standpoint, you're going to be pretty happy overall. And I do have to state, I do love the moonstone color. I think they snapped with this one. This is a really good one here. And I also think this jade green is pretty nice as well. However, I'm not a fan of these anymore because they always pop these colors out. They are standard colors though that are good to have, but I don't recommend those colors if you want the phone to stand out. Obsidian or porcelain, they've been around forever. So I would go with the moonstone. I think it's the perfect balance. It's just it's not like super in your face, but it gives it enough like different flair that it doesn't feel like just a standard phone. So I do really like the moonstone. It really does stand out. I feel like the jade will be a nice option as well, but it won't look so great year round as it looks. I don't know. It just has a spring color to me. This looks like a spring color, this jade green right here. It doesn't summer-ish spring. It doesn't really look like a fall color, which we're going into soon. So for me, moonstone is the #1 winner here, but decent color options. Also, you do get some good accessory options for this phone as well because of the Pixel Snap. So you'll definitely have a lot of those options. And so the final verdict, the software is excellent for this phone. It has great cameras. And it's good, but it's not the best performance out there. It's still not the best smartphone display either. It's one of the best, but it's not the best. And it's a bit heavy. So if people like thinner, lighter phones, you're not going to love this one. But it does have some of the smartest options out there. But I think the price is a little bit too high considering that it doesn't have the fastest chip. I would price it about $100 less if it was me. Overall, I give this phone about an 8 out of 10. It's definitely not getting a 10 out of 10 just due to Tensor G5 still being behind even some chips from a year or so ago with the faster Elite versions. So yeah, that's it for me. Google Pixel 10 Pro XL. I recommend it for people who want a very smartphone with a really good Google experience and phenomenal photography chops on this phone with also very good video chops as well. Camera, if camera and AI smarts is your thing with a minimal clean Google ecosystem, this is your phone. You're going to love it. If having all the features in the kitchen sink, like a foldable phone, Z Fold 7 type thing, if versatility, if features is your thing, if the fastest chip is your thing, you should be looking at Samsung phones for sure. And if iOS is your thing, well, we're not even in the conversation. Anyway, thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And let me know your thoughts on the Google Pixel 10 Pro XL. This is Nick here. Be sure to be well and peace.